In the last video, we discovered and talked about CSS and how to write the general CSS rule like the one in front of you. This is the general structure of a CSS rule. You start by selecting an element, then you specify the property which helps in changing the aspect of the element, and then specify the value. So in my case, I am changing the color of my h1 to red. But really today, we want to talk about classes and IDs in CSS. So let's see what they are. I am in my text editor, and as you can see, I prepared a simple website. Basically, we have an h1, a horizontal line, two h2s, and two paragraphs that has a dummy text. Nothing fancy. I will go to my CSS file, and first I want to change the background color to midnight blue. So I'm gonna say body to select the body element and change the background color to midnight blue. As you can see, the background color changed to midnight blue. Now I want to change the h1 color to, let's say, gold. So I'm gonna say h1 or select the h1 and change the color to gold. Now I want to change the h2 to, let's say, orange. And I'm gonna do the same process for the p. And I'm gonna say p color, let's say, white. As you can see, our first h1 has the color of gold and our 2h2 has the color of orange, and because we selected the h2 element, so basically any h2 in our code will be orange. And same for our p elements. So basically any p element inside my code will have the color of white. But let's say I want the first h2 to have the color of yellow and the second h2 to have the color of olive. What I will do is I will create a class. And a class is an attribute that you give for your elements. So why do we use classes? Well, to create separate class. So let us say class A is the yellow class and class B is the olive class. Any element who enters one of these classes will change color depending on the class. So if the h2 enters class A, it will have a yellow color. If another h2 enters the B class, it will have the olive color. And if a paragraph element or an h1 element enters the A class, it will have the yellow color. So basically, any element can enter a class, and whatever is inside the class, they will take it or inherit it, let's say. I am in my HTML document, and I want to go to the first h2, which is down here, and create a class. And the class is an attribute, so I'm gonna write class, and make sure inside quotation marks, I'm gonna specify the name of the class. So I'm gonna say A. But usually, class names should be descriptive and meaningful. I'm just using A and B here for example purposes. Now I'm gonna go to the second h2. Down here, I'm gonna say class equal to B. Now I'm gonna go to my file.css and take off this rule. So as we said, any element that enters class A will have the yellow color. But how do I select a class? Well, it's very simple. All you need to do is say dot and name the class, or mention the name of the class. In my case, it is A, so I'm gonna say dot A. And now I'm gonna say color, which is yellow. Now let's do the same thing for B. So dot B and color is olive. As you can see, because the first h2 is inside class A, and because we said in my CSS file that the class A has the yellow color, so basically anyone that enters the class A will have the yellow color. Now because our second h2 over here is inside class B, and we said that everyone that enters class B will have the olive color, so that explains why our second h2 that is inside class B has the olive color. Now I'm gonna delete this one. I'm gonna go to my HTML document and specify a class for each of my P elements. So the first P element will be inside class C, and the second P element will be inside class D. Now I'm gonna go to my CSS file, and let's say the class C will have a color of light blue. So I'm gonna say .c color light blue. And let's say the class D will have the color of sky blue. So I'm gonna say .d and color sky blue. And as you can see, because the first P element is inside class C, and because we said class C will have the color of light blue, that explains why the first P element who is inside class C has the color of light blue. But because our second P element is inside class D, it will inherit or take the sky blue color from class D. Okay, now that we know a bit about classes, let's say I'm gonna go to my first h2, I'm gonna put it inside class D. What do you think right now will happen? As you can see, it will inherit or take the sky blue color because it's inside the class D. And of course, it is no longer inside class A because we changed the class from class A to D. Now that we know a bit about classes, but what about the ID attribute? Actually, the ID attribute is similar to the class attribute. It helps you select an element and apply some CSS on it. But normally, IDs are only specified to one element, not like the class attribute wherever, let's say, everyone can enter class A. So basically, I can put H2 in class A, P in class A, as well as this H2 in class A and this P tag in class A. But with the ID attribute, I cannot do this. It should be given to one element only. Like let's say John has an ID that belongs strictly to him, while David has his own ID that describes and identifies him. So basically, that is what ID in HTML means. Let's say I'm gonna Ctrl Z all of this, and let's say in H1, I'm gonna create an ID. I'm gonna say ID equal to H1. And what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna use the ID selector, and how? I'm gonna say hashtag and followed by the name of the ID. So in my case it is H1. And now I'm gonna say color. Let me change the color to green. Of course, the H1 will be colored as green. And because the ID of H1 belongs to this H1 header, it will basically inherit or take the green color. And the best practice is only one element should own its own ID. I could go ahead and create an ID for this H3 over here that I'm gonna create under this HR. So I'm gonna say H3 ID equal to H3. I'm gonna say header3 ID. Inside my file.css, I'm gonna go down here and say hashtag H3, and I'm gonna say color pink. And boom, because the ID H3 belongs to my header3, it will inherit or take the pink color. Alright, that is it on classes and IDs in CSS. They are actually very useful if you want to create separate styling for different elements. Now, make sure to subscribe and follow me along in this CSS tutorial. And now let's take a break and check out what are these 7 mind-blowing technologies that will change the future. They say in the future we won't have a Wi-Fi anymore. Check out what I mean by clicking on this video. Or maybe you are interested in knowing the difference between the deep web and the dark web.